my name is Jade Rhodes. I'm a certified hypnotherapist and creator of Lilith Path Hypnotherapy and Lilith Path Regression Therapy. In this video, I'm going to discuss astrological measurements, in particular tropical measurements and sidereal measurements. And as tradition, I want to note that my dear dog is sleeping under my desk. So if you hear snoring, snorting, or any sort of creature sounds, that is my dear dog. All right, so why these two in particular, these two measurements, tropical and sidereal? Well, I began studying astrology when I was 12 years old, and the system that I studied was Western tropical astrology using tropical measurements. However, when I created Lilith Path Hypnotherapy, I felt very guided by Lilith herself to use sidereal measurements. And the reason for this was because it would cause a shakeup of identity, essentially creating space to help your mind open to new ideas and new beliefs about self. So how does using sidereal measurements shake up identity? Well, when using sidereal measurements, for those who use tropical measurements, your natal chart will shift, either an entire sign or almost a full sign. Why is this? Because sidereal measurements measure the exact location of the stars. And because it takes into consideration what's called the axial precession of the Earth, so Earth's wobble, that causes the celestial equator to shift a degree every 72.2 years, the sidereal measurements represent the true star placement. So it can cause major shifts in the natal chart going from tropical to sidereal. So why are tropical measurements still used today if the last time they were accurately mapping the stars was roughly 2,000 years ago? So this point may be contentious. That is not my intention. I am simply sharing my feeling on this. Some astrologers say that astrology has nothing to do with the stars. Here I will say that tropical astrology has nothing to do with the stars, the star placements. Tropical astrology is rooted in the seasons. It was created to map the seasons, not the stars. And the reason it has any connection to the stars is because the stars were used as visual markers for the cyclical tasks of life, like planting. So there was an instance in time where tropical measurements and sidereal measurements aligned. However, because tropical measurements were created to be based on the seasons, they remained with the seasons, whereas sidereal measurements continue to shift with the celestial equator. So this relation to the season is key as to why I decided to return to tropical measurements. It stems from a very clear message that I feel came from Lilith herself to remove her from the narrative. Remove me from the narrative. I kept hearing this message from her for about a year, and during contemplation came to understand that the take me out of the narrative, it meant bring me back into nature. Return me to definitionless, to felt sense. Not only are the seasons nature, they are also anciently evoking our felt sense, our humanness beyond definition, right? So to understand the difference between sidereal measurements and tropical measurements, we can understand through the lenses of astronomy and astrology. So to an astronomer, Virgo denotes a certain group of stars that make up the constellation Virgo. To an astrologer, Virgo connects to a season, to a specific phase within the dance of the earth. The sign symbolism of astrology is deeply related to the season, the earth herself. And as humans, cyclical beings who are part of nature, so are we deeply related to the seasons and earth herself. And with that, from my heart, thank you for being here. I wish you a beautiful day.